The night I said something reckless to my CEO, the city outside our glass-walled office looked like it was holding its breath. Rain streaked the windows of the 42nd floor in downtown Chicago, turning headlights into trembling stars. And I remember thinking how strange it was that a single sentence could tilt an entire life. I had been a junior strategist with too much caffeine in my veins and too many unsaid thoughts in my chest, and she was the woman who signed paychecks and carried herself like gravity had personally sworn allegiance to her. When the words finally escaped me, they weren't planned or clever. They were honest in the most dangerous way, and the air between us shifted, heavy and electric, like a storm choosing where to land. Before this story pulls you any deeper, pause for just a second. If you believe in kindness and second chances, in the idea that life can surprise you when you least expect it, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, drop a comment and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this live because of people like you. Her name was Margaret Collins, though everyone called her Maggie when she wasn't in a boardroom. She was in her early 50s, with silver threading her dark hair and eyes that had seen recessions, mergers, and the quiet cost of ambition. I was 28, new to Chicago, still trying to prove that my ideas deserved a seat at the table. We were alone that night because deadlines do not respect age or titles, and because grief, when it shows up, often drives people to work late. I didn't know then that she was coming off a divorce that had ended not with shouting, but with a long silence that felt worse. She didn't know that my last relationship had collapsed under the weight of my own fear of being ordinary. The challenge wasn't attraction. That was the easy part, the spark that makes fools of smart people. The challenge was everything else. It was the age gap that turned glances into gossip, the power imbalance that made every shared laugh feel risky, and the unspoken rules of a corporate world that pretends to be modern while clutching old judgments. I told myself to keep my head down, to learn, to build a future brick by brick. Yet every time she leaned over my desk to review a proposal, every time she praised my work in a meeting with that calm authority, something inside me stirred and refused to be ignored. The night everything changed, we were reviewing a campaign that meant survival for the company. Tension had been our companion for weeks. When it finally broke, it wasn't with a victory cheer, but with a quiet exhale. We stood there, exhausted, the city humming below us, and I felt the weight of my own honesty pushing against my ribs. I told her that if we were the same age, I would steal her away without a second thought. I expected laughter or a polite deflection, maybe even a reminder of boundaries. What I didn't expect was the softness that crossed her face, the way her shoulders relaxed, as if she had been holding something heavy for too long. She told me to pretend she was mine, just for that moment, just long enough to remember what it felt like to be wanted without conditions. Nothing physical happened, and that mattered more than people might think. What happened instead was quieter and braver. We sat, sharing stories without quotes or promises, just two humans acknowledging a connection they didn't know how to name. She spoke of building a company from nothing while a marriage slowly unraveled in the background. I spoke of moving from Ohio to Illinois with a suitcase and a stubborn belief that effort could outrun fear. In that space, the labels fell away, and what remained was empathy. The days that followed were harder than the night itself. I wrestled with guilt, with ambition, with the knowledge that feelings do not ask for permission. She became more distant at work, more formal, and it hurt in a way I hadn't prepared for. I considered leaving the company, convinced that staying would mean watching something beautiful wither under fluorescent lights. Then something unexpected happened. She called me into her office, not for a confession or a reprimand, but for an opportunity. She offered me a leadership role on a new project in Seattle, a chance to grow without shadows, to test myself on my own merit. Seattle became a turning point. The rain there felt different, softer somehow, and the distance forced clarity. We kept in touch in careful ways, emails that spoke of work and life without crossing lines. I learned to lead, to fail publicly and recover, to understand that respect is earned daily. She learned, I think, to let go of the idea that desire had an expiration date. Months turned into a year, and when the project succeeded, I returned to Chicago changed. The company had changed too. Maggie announced she was stepping down as CEO, choosing to mentor startups and reclaim parts of herself she had set aside. On her last day, there was a gathering in the lobby, applause echoing off marble, gratitude thick in the air. We spoke afterward, not as boss and employee, but as two people standing at the edge of new chapters. The power imbalance was gone, the rules rewritten by time and courage. Love, when it finally arrived, did not crash like thunder. It settled like dawn, gentle and certain. We took things slowly, aware of the eyes that would watch and the whispers that would follow. Some people judged, others smiled knowingly, and most eventually moved on with their own lives. What mattered was that we chose each other in a world that had tried to tell us not to. If this story has stirred something in you, if it's made you think about the moments you almost spoke your truth but didn't, take a second now to engage with this video. Like it, share it, and let us know you're here. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Special request before we end, please comment the word hope if you believe love doesn't have an expiration date. Years later, on a quiet street near Lake Michigan, we built a life that looked nothing like the one either of us had planned, and everything like the one we needed. We learned that courage isn't loud, that kindness can rewrite timelines, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is see someone for who they are, not who the world says they should be. If this story touched your heart, don't scroll away. Stay with it, share it, and remember that the sentence you're afraid to say might just be the one that changes everything.